Get you ready for the Week 16 waiver wire next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers. We're talking about the Week 16 waiver wire on Fantasy Football Today in 5. But first, let's talk about that Seahawks win over the Eagles. And it was one of those games where it's like, is a good game if it only has a good finish? It was one of those kind of games because for the most part, this game was pretty sleepy. There were 13 points scored total in the first half. There were 24 scored in the second half, so that was nice. But yeah, the Eagles seemed like they were on their way to ending their losing skid. But they left a little bit too much time for Drew Lock, who led a 92-yard game-winning touchdown drive, had an incredible throw and catch by Jackson Smith-Njigba from Drew Lock to win the game. And then Julian Love, maybe the interception of the season to close out the game on a throw targeted to A.J. Brown. From a fantasy perspective, this wasn't the best game. Jalen Hurts, 21 points. Kenneth Walker, 19 points. I think he got over 20 if you play in a decimal scoring system. JSN, 14. DK Metcalf, 12.8. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith both had 10 points. Not a great game across the board. Drew Lock, really nice story that he led them on this comeback win, but I think you saw for most of this game, he's not the kind of quarterback that Geno Smith is. And hopefully Geno Smith, who apparently was a game-time decision before not being made the starter, hopefully he's back next week because I think the Seahawks offense does have a little more upside with him. As for the Eagles, it's hard to take too much from this. Jalen Hurts got picked off twice. One of them was at the end of the game and a low probability for them to win anyway. 143 yards on 31 pass attempts. He wasn't great. It's been a tough couple of weeks for the Eagles. They've lost 3 in a row. Hurts not playing at the highest level. Still had 2 rushing touchdowns today. Even when he's not playing well. Even when he's apparently not feeling well. He was dealing with some sort of illness coming into this game that had him in doubt for the start. He's still a pretty good fantasy quarterback, and if you survive this week, you're definitely starting him in Week 16. Let's move on to the top waiver wire targets for Week 16, and make sure you listen to the full episode of Fantasy Football Today, where Jamie Eisenberg, Dave Richard, Heath Cummings, Adam Azer will break down all the top options at every position that you need to know about. I texted Jamie earlier. He sent me his top 5 waiver wire targets for Week 16, and no surprise, Darren Waller is number 1. I think if you need a tight end, it's actually weird, the tight end position. I did my rankings. You can go to cbssports.com and find the rankings there. I kind of think tight end, I actually feel pretty good about like 15 guys at the tight end position. Maybe 14, depending on how you feel about Dallas Goedert. But like, I've got Dalton Kincaid at 15. Last couple of weeks have been tough. I still think there's a ton of upside here for him. Taysom Hill, I still like him. Isaiah Likely, we're seeing some upside the last couple of weeks. David Njoku. The tight end position looks really good. But if you didn't happen to add one of the good tight ends, Darren Waller is in that group of 15 that I feel pretty good about. He was 4th on the team in routes run this week, coming back from his hamstring injury. I think we'll see that role expand. He still had 4 catches for 40 yards. I thought looked pretty good, especially on the one long. I think it was a 32-yard catch and run. Still think there's a chance Darren Waller has a pretty good finish to the season. Obviously, he's not the guy he once was, but if you do need a tight end, he should be up there. Otherwise, if you need a running back, Justice Hill, absolutely make sure you keep an eye on him with Keaton Mitchell suffering, unfortunately, a season-ending ACL injury. He's going to miss the rest of the year, and Justice Hill is going to have a bigger role as a result of that. We'll see what happens with the Colts running backs. Hopefully we get some updates on Tuesday that let us know one way or the other whether Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss are going to play, because if not, Trey Sermon would probably be ahead of Justice Hill in the RB rankings. And then if Isaiah Pacheco's out, Clyde Edwards-Helaire will also be probably an RB3 for Week 16, but he's definitely someone, as we saw this week, with some upside in that offense. If you need some wide receivers, there's a couple of decent options. I think we'll start with Tyler Boyd, who probably wouldn't be my top choice on the waiver wire if I need a wide receiver, but it does look like Jamar Chase is going to miss Week 16 with that separated shoulder. There was some optimism initially after the injury, but the cold light of day, it looks like Jamar Chase's chances of playing Week 16 are not great, which Not good sign for those of us who have him in our leagues, as I do in 2 of the leagues where I'm still playing, but we'll have to overcome that. And Tyler Boyd, look, he's not a must-start option. We've seen when T. Higgins and or Jamar Chase are out the last couple of years, Tyler Boyd sometimes still has 4 catches for 45 yards. That's just who he is. But we have seen a couple of big games, including earlier this year in one of the games T. Higgins missed, so there's some upside there. I think there's some upside with Josh Palmer and Curtis Samuel as well, the way Curtis Samuel has been playing for a little while now. And Josh Palmer, he came back from that knee injury last week, topped 100 yards, only 4 targets, but he's been a really good downfield receiver for the Chargers, which is not something that I thought Josh Palmer had in him. It's been a good fit. The fact that he had a good game with Easton Stick makes you feel a little better out. I think, Palmer, Samuel, and Tyler Boyd are all likely to be in that wide receiver 4 range of the rankings this week, but there is still some upside with all of them. So if you need wide receiver help, look for them on the waiver wire. And make sure you listen to the first episode or the full episode of Fantasy Football Today on Tuesday morning to get a full breakdown of the waiver wire. We'll see you tomorrow on FFT and 5.